Welcome to the NHL Ice Guys. It's Thursday, October the 12th. I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review, joined by Dana Lane and Alex B. Smith. We should have Andrew McInnes here momentarily as well. Looking forward to the show. And guys, we got to give ourselves the old Barry Horowitz treatment here a little bit for a job well done on Tuesday's show. A little pat on the back. 4-0 sweep with best bets on Tuesday's program. Alex had Columbus. I had Philly, Nashville over. Dana had Ottawa, Vancouver under. And Andrew had Detroit, Dallas over. So it was a clean sweep on Tuesday. We'll see if we can give more best bet winners for all our great viewers at the end of the show. Let's start with Alex B. Smith. How are you on this Thursday?
Doing pretty good, like I said, it's been a fun week. Every night's been some really good hockey, and it's weird. Think about other sports. The beginning of the year, sometimes we expect to see something really good right off the gate. Sometimes it's not as smooth, but I've been delighted with every game that I've watched so far. I've tried to watch as many as possible. So hopefully we can keep the winners rolling, and hopefully the action nights will be of the highest quality.
And Dana Lane just trying to calm down and just come back down to earth now from the euphoria of Las Vegas' first ever home game on Tuesday night. Dana, how was the city? Buzzing for Tuesday night? I would assume so.
Yeah, no, there was no doubt about it. I mean, certainly an emotional night, and we talked about that on the last show as well. But what's cool is they're actually going to have two opening nights. I mean, the Golden Knights certainly didn't plan on having a impromptu memorial service for their first game, but the second game, the second game on Friday against Buffalo is going to be a night where they're really going to crank it up, and you'll see more of the drum line in front of the castle like you saw the other night. But guys, I mean, last night the New Jersey Devils got a huge win as a $1.72 dog against Toronto, and I mean, this is a New Jersey team that I looked at and thought, well, where is the scoring coming from? And maybe this is what's going to happen as the year goes on. But so far, extremely impressed with them. Even though Toronto did have a major shot advantage, New Jersey found a way to get this victory last night, and Corey Schneider was stellar. So major props to New Jersey, and we're very excited here in Vegas for the Golden Knights.
You know what? I'm just before we get to Thursday's card, I want to talk about New Jersey a little bit because my opinion is changing on that team quite quickly. I thought they were going to be really horrible coming into the season, but what I'm seeing is four lines that now on this New Jersey team are younger, faster, have much more talent than they've had. Their speed was phenomenal last night in that game against Toronto. This was a team that was slow, that was plodding for years and years, that believed in that trap style going back decades and decades with the New Jersey Devils. They've finally gotten with the new era of NHL hockey in 2017 that you need a little speed. You need four lines that can contribute offensively, or at least three. And looks like they've got four lines that can do that. I mean, their third and fourth lines have been a factor for them all season long so far in the offense. Very impressed with New Jersey. They're finally getting with the times. They've got a younger team, a lot more speed on it. And if Corey Schneider plays the way he did last night, and he was brilliant, I thought, in net for the New Jersey Devils, they're going to have some good things happening for them this season. All right, guys, we got a Thursday card to break down. We're going to start at the top of the rotation, as we always do. Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, rotation 1 and 2. No line right now across the board on this game. Of course, Pittsburgh off a back-to-back situation here. They were in Washington last night. And what else is new? Penguins get the better of the Washington Capitals one more time with a victory last night over the Capitals, now facing this Tampa Bay team. I obviously don't have a firm opinion yet till the line is out there, but I'll be looking at Tampa Bay in this spot. I would cashed with them the other night against Washington on Monday night. They came back and won that game 4-3 in overtime. I like the Lightning a lot. I think in these step-up spots where they play the Washingtons, the Pittsburghs, if they play, say, Nashville from the West, some of the bigger teams in the league, I think Tampa Bay sort of has a point to prove against teams like that coming into the season, because they feel last year the only reason they missed the playoffs is because they were injury-riddled and couldn't withstand it. And they feel now that they've got a healthy hockey team back on that ice again, they're going to be a factor and be a contender this year. So I think you get Tampa Bay, a real good effort from them. Maybe they take advantage of Pittsburgh in that second night of back-to-back games, coming off a big win against an arch rival like Washington. So Tampa Bay is an appealing spot to me there in that game. We've got St. Louis and Florida, rotation number 3, rotation number 4. Florida, a slight favorite here, -115, total 5.5, shaded to the under. And the St. Louis Blues have been they deserve all the credit in the world, really. I mean, a 4-0 start, despite all the injuries they've had, really is something. You got to give Mike Yeo credit. But this is now third game in 4 nights for the St. Louis Blues. They played 2 in a row on the road, Islanders, Rangers. Now they're playing in Florida tonight. And the Florida Panthers, they've been off now for quite some time. I think it was Saturday, their last game, when they played the Lightning and beat the Lightning that night. So it's a much better scheduling situation for the Florida Panthers. And, Bob Boughner comes in there, the boogeyman, as Rick Jeanneret called him way back in this day with the Sabres. He's going to be a guy, I think, that makes this team a little bit better defensively. I mean, I know when he's been an assistant before in the NHL, he's really working with the defense and making sure all the ducks are in a row with the back end. And I think Florida gradually going to be a team that's going to be able to play better at that end of the ice. We know they can score goals, and they definitely showed that against Tampa Bay. I'd lean a little bit here to Florida. Not sure I'll pull the trigger because St. Louis has just found a way, but their backs are up against the wall a little bit here from a scheduling perspective, playing their third game in 4 nights, all on the road. Dallas, Nashville, 5-6 on the rotation. Nashville -125 total, 5.5 -130, and Nashville found a way to win the other night against Philly, guys. But I'm telling you what, if not for those penalties late in the game for the Philadelphia Flyers, and including they lost a challenge on the tying goal that resulted, of course, now the new rule is you lose a challenge, a 2-minute minor penalty is assessed to you. So they ended up right back on the penalty kill after Nashville tied that game 5-5. And sure enough, on that man advantage, Nashville ends up taking the lead. And ends up winning their first game of the season, 6-5. Much needed win for the team when it looked like they were going to find another way to lose. But they were able to get the job done and come out of there with the victory. Dallas Stars get back on track in their last game, first win of the season. They beat Detroit. Ben Bishop back in net was pretty solid for the Dallas Stars. And it's pretty simple. You see the drop-off with this Dallas team in terms of their goaltending, going from Bishop to Lettinen. I mean, it's a big drop off. When Bishop's in there, this team's going to have a chance on a nightly basis. It's a tough game for me here, guys. Any opinions for you, for Dana or Alex, on Dallas, Nashville? I was leaning Stars, but I don't know if the price point is there. I mean, Nashville's even money here. You don't see that very often. Them that cheap on their home ice, even though they haven't put it together yet this season for a full 60-minute performance. Any thoughts from either of you on this one? You can jump in if you like.
Yeah, well, looking at with Nashville, from notes that I'm seeing, it looks like Rene won't start. Be Saros that's in net, so I think that's the reason why we're seeing that price. But like I said, Nashville, the defense, that Ryan Ellis not being there, that's going to be a part of the story for quite some time now. That's going to be part of that weak link defensively, and like I said, Dallas looking much better, obviously, with Bishop in that as opposed to Lettinen. So I would lean toward Dallas in the spot. Like I said, wait, obviously, for the confirmations in net. But I think Dallas would take care of business here in that one.
Yeah, for me, and I mean, there's no, it's Nashville for me in this one. I mean, it's not one of my top games or a game that I would pull the trigger on, but I like the price, and certainly Nashville got lazy against Philadelphia. They had a 3-0 lead, and then they, barely hung on at the end to come back and win 6-5. So perhaps that provides a little bit of a wake-up call. And they're also expected to perhaps have Roman Josi back and Colton Sissons, who both had lower body injuries. If they can return to the lineup, obviously that's going to be a boost. I mean, I watched Dallas against Vegas, of course, very close, and I still, when these teams infuse a lot of other guys and they're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together for the first time in the season, it's really not a team that I look to play on. It's usually a team I look to play against, and Dallas certainly falls in that category. So for me, it would be Nashville or nothing, but again, not one of my top plays.
All right, very good. On to Minnesota, Chicago. Rotation number 7 and 8. We've got Chicago -130, -135 home favorite, total 5.5, slightly shaded to the under. It's at the point now with the NHL Ice Guys. We don't even we don't even need Alex to send me the game in the morning when it comes to the Chicago Blackhawks. It's Chicago's on the board. Alex is going to talk about it regardless every single time they play. He's a fan. He watches every game, knows the team inside out, and Alex does have something to say. Shocker there about Minnesota, Chicago. So take it away, Alex. Wild Blackhawks tonight.
Well, yeah, not only, I mean, it's my home team, Chicago Blackhawks, but me being a Minnesota resident, I live just blocks down the street from the Xcel Energy Center. Right. So this is both teams that I'm super familiar with. And these two teams have a history going back several years. You know, we've seen the Hawks get the best of the Wild in the playoffs 3 years in a row, but the regular season has been a different story. In the last 9 regular season meetings, Minnesota has won 6 of the last 9. The last 3 in a row were won by the Hawks, but the 6 prior to that were all taken care of by Minnesota. So really the only difference you see here is really whether the game being played at the United Center or at the Xcel Energy Center. Minnesota, they're 5-13 straight up in their last 18 games at the United Center. So it's this is definitely a series, be it playoffs or regular season, where home ice makes the difference. So when I look at this plus price of Minnesota, they've had some days off. I think Minnesota would be a little bit more energized. And you look at Chicago, of course, they had the great 10-goal opener. They had 5 goals in the second game. They've had 3 goals each in the last 2 games, and they've allowed a lot of shots. 42 shots in their last game, 43 shots in the night prior. That's not a good sign. If that defense starts weakening down, that means Corey Crawford's got to face a lot more shots. Where you look at Minnesota, they've gotten a lot of shots on net. They had 37 in their opener against Detroit, which they lost 4-2, and then 27 shots on goal. A lot of great saves in that game from Carolina, former Hawks goalie Scott Darling. So I think Minnesota is the team to look at here with a plus price around plus 115, plus 120. I think the Wild will find a way to silence the United Center crowd tonight.
There you go. See, I told you. He'll bet against the Chicago Blackhawks. Fandom be damned. He will do it when the time comes, and he's doing it here. Minnesota, plus 115. Dana, quickly, you got anything on this one?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna see a few lineup changes. I mean, with the Minnesota injuries, Boudreau's gonna certainly mix things up a little bit. I mean, Zach Parise has some injury that nobody knows about. Mikael Granlund, of course, with the groin injury, he'll be sidelined, and I think you're gonna see some line shuffling here. And I just, again, I like stability, and I'm not going to go with a team that's, you know, playing out of character, or guys that are playing out of what they would normally play. You know, like Alex pointed out, the Blackhawks have 21 goals in their first 4 games, and you know they have 6 players that are averaging over a point a game. So again, it's not a game for me that I want to get involved in, but you know, certainly I would be looking to the Blackhawks side if I had to shade anybody. I just don't like guys when. You know, I like stability. I mean, I like the old Claude Julien way of doing things, where these are my lines, and this is I'm going to live and die with them. And I'm just not a big fan of always having to. I mean, obviously with injuries, you have to shuffle the lines, but I think it takes a game or two for guys to get used to each other, and it's just really a speed factor. I mean, lines are a cohesive unit, and the more you play with each other, the better you get. And I just don't think you get that best effort the first game that you switch things around. So when I see that, I tend to look to the other team.
All right, there we go. There's your look at Minnesota, Chicago. I'm probably not going to play that game. It looks like it'll be a pass for me on this one. Although Chicago, you know, they keep finding ways to score goals. I mean, their offensive ability so far this season's been pretty impressive so far. Total sitting at 5.5 in this game. We'll give a lean here to the viewers here over the total, but it's probably not a game I'm going to touch in the end. We've got Detroit, Arizona, rotation 9 and 10. We've got Arizona minus 115, slight home favorites, total 5.5, shaded a little bit to the under, but minus 120 across the board. And I know Dana Lane's not got just one, but 2 picks on this same game, Red Wings and Coyotes. Dana, what are you looking at here in this one?
Yeah, I also too, it made me remember, I just want to correct myself. The Golden Knights, of course, have their next game against Detroit. So it's not against Buffalo, but they will play Buffalo on Sunday. Okay, so listen, guys, I've seen both of these teams quite a bit. The Wings offensively and Arizona offensively, there is nothing there for me to get excited about. Although I will say this, Arizona completely dominated that third period against Las Vegas. Not sure. I mean, Alex, maybe you know. I mean, the site that I go to get updates on goaltending has Ranta listed. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not. And you know, obviously, with the way that Ranta played, perhaps you want to get him back in there. But you know, here's a guy that was polled just over 6 minutes ago in the Vegas game, and I would think that if he's in net, I would think that you are probably going to get his best effort, considering he's already lost twice to Vegas, and really it's it's the pressure's on him to perform, because obviously this is the first time that he has had to carry the load by himself. And, he's had a few games now to settle in. So if he does start, obviously, I think that this is going to be his best effort. I mean, this guy, from all accounts, you talk to anybody who knows him, he says he's a fierce competitor. He's mostly always in good position. I think the stage overwhelmed him a little bit the other night. He wasn't sharp. He was out of position. He got beat on shots that he normally wouldn't get beat on. And so I do expect a much better effort from him. In totals wise, I mean, Tobias Reeder is probably their best offensive player early on, and he's a fourth line winger. I mean, you look up and down these lines, and there's nothing that excites me or says that finally these games are going to go over, especially if it's at 5.5. Detroit's first line of Nyquist and Zetterberg and Tatar, they've only managed one goal so far. And then, like I said before, I thought Arizona outplayed Vegas in the third period, but nothing that excited me as far as the total is concerned. So Dallas and Detroit, I thought that Detroit played. That was probably one of the better games, but again, I thought that Dallas completely outplayed Detroit. So I like the way that Arizona finished up the third period against Vegas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the under in this, because I just don't see where the scoring is coming from so far. But I am going to play Arizona because I think Rant is going to come back and play better.
All right, there we go. So you like the under full game, Arizona full game. And this is the first game that I have an opinion on as well, and I'm with Dana on the side in this game. I'm looking at Arizona. They're better than they've shown so far. Remember, let's not forget, before we throw Arizona completely in the dumpster for losing to an expansion team not once but twice, but let's not forget, against Anaheim back in the first game of the season, they had a 4-1 lead in that hockey game. This is not an incapable group, and I do think, Dana, this offense for Arizona is going to be better in the long term.
Sure.
But right now they're struggling because I do see some parts here. I see a Max Domi that I think is got potential to put a puck in the net. Anthony Duclair, I think Derek Stepan's a nice addition from the Rangers. I think Christian Dvorak, we haven't seen anything from him yet this year, but I think he's a guy last year played well for the Arizona team offensively. I think they will get going at some point. It's just a question of when. And you're going to go through cycles. Even the biggest, most high-scoring hockey teams, Dana, and you know this, Alex, Andrew, who is now with us, by the way, you all know that it's a situation where even the most highest scoring, most explosive scoring teams in hockey, they're going to go through droughts. They're going to go through spells where the puck doesn't go their way, where they're just in a drought. They're having a hard time putting the puck in the net. That's just the way it is. And Arizona, the last couple games against Vegas, they've had that issue. But let's not forget, they put up a 4 spot on Anaheim in that first game. And I think you get Arizona's best here in this game. And I said this about Detroit prior to the game against Dallas. They had the nice 2-0 start. Still not believing in the Red Wings at all. I still think it's a team that's going to be up against it long term. They lose their first game of the season to the Dallas Stars. Now this road trip continues here in Arizona, and they do have the Vegas game on deck. And I don't want to say look ahead situation or look ahead spot, but it's still kind of intriguing. All these players get to go play a game in Las Vegas for the very first time in the NHL. It's just something to consider in the back of your mind. It's not necessarily to say, whoa, this team's going to just play like dog shit now because they got to play in Vegas the next night. But it's just something in the back of your mind that is your full focus and energy on Arizona, or are you thinking in the back of your mind, hey, we're going to Las Vegas tomorrow and getting ready to play the Knights for the first time? It's just a little something might be going against Detroit here. So, yeah, I'm on Arizona. It's a game I think we might be coming back to in best bets, actually, from my standpoint. I really like this one. So I've basically given it away. I don't know why I did that, but Arizona minus 115, rotation number 10. That's my bet on this hockey game tonight. All right, we've got Andrew. And now that Andrew's with us, I have no clue in terms of which games he's interested in. But Andrew, do you have any take at all on the Wings Coyotes here?
Yeah, I think I'll stay off that game, Ian. I do agree with you guys, but just for now, I'm going to stay off that one, and I'll just let you know in the chat box what game I'm interested in for next.
All right, excellent, because we got 2 games to go, and after that, we'll come back to you. If you've got a game that we talked about already that you did have a solid pick on or bet that you're going to make on, we will come back to you after we get through the rest of the games, and you can let us know at that time. Winnipeg taking on Vancouver, rotation number 11 and 12. We've got Winnipeg minus 125, minus 130 chalk on the road. Total sitting at 5.5, shaded to the over, and even in a shootout loss the other night for the Canucks against Ottawa. This team's work ethic has been pretty good so far for Travis Green in his first 2 games as a head coach here in the NHL with the Vancouver Canucks. Yeah, I know this team is still, to me, where's the offense going to come from outside of Daniel and Henrik Sedin, outside of Bo Horvat? Louis Eriksson's a streaky guy. Thomas Vanek's the streakiest guy. I don't know how people think still Thomas Vanek's going to make a hockey team better. If he's not scoring, if he's not doing things in front of the net, to cause traffic for goalies, he's completely useless in other areas of the game. I'm sorry, he can't back check, he doesn't play defense, doesn't play 2 ways of the ice. He's, to me, nothing but put a big body like him, big lug like him in front of the net, hope he scores goals. That's his one good attribute as an NHL player. He's a very limited in that role, doesn't really give you much else anywhere else on the ice. And of course, you've got situations where, you've got really a problem, I think, in terms of scoring depth that's going to catch up with the Canucks, but they've battled. Jacob Markstrom, I think, has been solid enough in net so far. I do have questions about their defensive depth. Eric Branson's a guy that was a highly touted pick for Florida years and years ago, but he's just not, I think he's just more of a pedestrian, run-of-the-mill defenseman. He's not been that, star blue liner that I think people anticipated him being. Edler and Tanev's a solid top pair, but there's a lot of depth issues in terms of the bottom 6 forwards and that blue line for Vancouver. And long-term, can Jake Markstrom and Anders Nilsson be your 2 goalies long-term to help you compete and win games? That remains to be seen. I give Winnipeg credit. They finally dug in a little bit defensively. This has been a horrendous defensive unit, Winnipeg, through the first few games. They finally played better at that end of the ice. Maybe the goaltending shift that Paul Maurice made from Steve Mason to Connor Hellebuck also made a little bit of a difference in beating Edmonton the other night. So Winnipeg gets off the schneid there. I'd probably lean Jets here, but not with a team that's still got defensive question marks. Am I going to lay minus 130 on the road? This is a game that Dana is very much interested in. Dana, Canucks and Jets, what are you looking at in this matchup?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're right. I mean, as far as the Markstrom thing, I mean, as far as long-term success, this is not a guy that I'm banking on. But team-wise, so far, the Vancouver Canucks have only given up 4 regulation goals, and Jacob Markstrom has been fantastic. He's had 73 saves in 2 games, and obviously they're giving up a lot of shots. But I certainly can't lay $1.30, $1.35 with the Jets team that's given up 5 goals a game, and that's including a 2-goal effort against Edmonton. I think Steve Mason should get the start, but he's a guy that allowed 6 goals to Calgary, and then he gave up 5 to Toronto. So look, if you look at the Winnipeg Jets top pairing right now, nothing jumps off. Or even the top 4. I mean, nothing jumps off the page between Trouba and Morrissey. They're a combined -7 so far. And then you go down to Tucker Poolman, who played his first NHL game the other night, and he's matched up with Toby Enstrom, who to me is the smallest defenseman. He doesn't struggle as much against the bigger forwards that you would think, but certainly not a guy that would come off the top of my mind when you're talking about top quality defensemen. And then, of course, Dustin Byfuglien is going to be out with his lower body injury, and that's a guy that will give you 25 minutes a game. So I really worry about Winnipeg defensively, and certainly at minus $1.35, that doesn't inspire me to take that side. So I'll take a chance with Vancouver. And we remember even 2 years ago or last year when Vancouver was supposed to be, really bad, and they were, but they did start off well, as they kind of have this season as well. And of course, you can't throw away the home ice advantage for Vancouver as well. So to get a home ice team at plus money against a team that I think is still trying to figure things out defensively, to me, it's Vancouver or nothing for me on this spot. Not my best bet, but certainly one of my top 3.
All right, there you go. Vancouver, says Dana. Not a bad thought. I mean, they've been impressive. They beat Edmonton. They, lost in a shootout to Ottawa. No shame in that. But from a value standpoint, I totally agree. And I could get minus 105, minus 110 with Ottawa the other night against Vancouver. Now minus 130 with Winnipeg. And is Winnipeg better than Ottawa? I'm not so sure, not defensively. And that's the issue. Okay, in terms of from a value standpoint, it's just not there for me to go against the Vancouver Canucks tonight in this game. So it's a game I'm staying away from. But I'm impressed. The work ethic's there, and and Travis Green's no fool, and this team knows that we got to dig in defensively. Hope Markstrom's good in net. That's going to be our modus operandi, basically, to win hockey games. All right, we've got the last game on the card, and then after that, we'll get to Andrew's 2 games, and then best bets to wrap up the show. Buffalo, San Jose. Rotation 13-14, San Jose minus 170 total, 5.5 shaded to the under. I have a bet on this game. It's probably one of my top 2 or 3 games as well tonight on this Thursday card, Sabres and Sharks. And I know Alex B. Smith's got a thought. Buffalo and San Jose. Alex, what are you looking at in this game?
This is a really fascinating matchup, and I've been on this particular situation at least 3 or 4 times over the last several years with Buffalo going into San Jose. Now, normally when these 2 teams play, it's in the middle of the year, kind of either November, January. But for some reason, Buffalo has found a way to beat San Jose. And we're talking about going back with some bad Buffalo teams against some pretty good San Jose teams over the years. And you look back at the database results, Buffalo cashed a few years ago as a plus 375 dog, a plus 300 dog, and even last year they won at home as a plus 135 underdog. So it's funny to see, once again, Buffalo, an underdog here in this spot against the San Jose team that's not nearly as good as teams we've seen over the last couple of years. Both these teams kind of seem to be middle-of-the-road clubs right now. So just that situation alone, and I think, Buffalo is the beginning of a road trip, which I know, Ian, this situation you like to look at as well as I do. Teams really get fired up, especially when they're going cross-country. This is the most energy we'll see from a team in this spot as they play 4 or 5 games in the road. So I think this is a really good spot here for Buffalo, and you can catch them right now at around plus 150. So hopefully another dog win for the Sabres in the Shark Tank.
Yeah, and you know what? Alex and I have exchanged our hockey bets and opinions for years, and I know for a fact you may not see 2 guys on the planet that have faded San Jose as big home favorites more than us 2. I mean, we've done it a lot. And I have even more case to do it this year because I'm even more down on San Jose. And I've said that all season long. I sound like a broken record. I don't like this team in terms of defending teams with speed, teams with skill. And I know Buffalo, it's been a rough go. It really has been so far. Shootout loss to Montreal, lost to the New York Islanders, didn't play particularly well in that game. Horrendous loss to New Jersey at home the other night, but we're finding out New Jersey might be a lot better than a lot of people thought. So, but it was still not good to lose that game the way they did, 6-2 on home ice. Maybe getting away on the West Coast, bonding time for this Buffalo team. A pretty young Buffalo team is going to help them a bit. More than anything, this is a fade of San Jose laying this kind of price against anyone. This is minus 170 here with San Jose, with a team that I'm not very high on. I've said that all season long. Already went against them once this season when Philadelphia beat them last week in the Shark Tank. And again, they're going to have issues. And, Patrick Marleau, I know people saying how he's an older player now, but they're still going to miss him. The core of this team's in their 30s in terms of age. Thornton, Pavelski, Brent Burns, Paul Martin on defense. Paul Martin's not a good defender anymore. I'm sorry, he's not. He's a guy now, the foot speed bothers him, can't keep up with some of these speedier wingers down the boards. It's been a little bit of an issue for him. And you look at Buffalo, they've had no fear whatsoever going into San Jose, none whatsoever. They've matched up well with this team. They're 5-1 the last 6 meetings in San Jose. So I'm right there with Alex, total agreement. I'm looking at the plus price underdog here, the Buffalo Sabres at plus 150. Again, not my best bet, but absolutely value in that price. I think Buffalo brings their A game. They're desperate. Phil Housley sort of put this team through the ringer the other day in terms of his comments saying we got to be a whole lot better than this. And I think you're going to see a better Buffalo team tonight. So I'm looking Sabres plus 150. Before we get to best bets to wrap up the show, Andrew joined us late. Hey, some things happen, unavoidable, but you wanted to talk about, Andrew, Chicago, Minnesota, followed by Nashville, Dallas. You have bets and opinions on these 2 games. Just go for it, one after the other. What are you looking at?
Yeah, once again, I apologize, guys, for being a little late to the show here, but I'm sure you guys already spoke about this, but I'm all over the Nashville and Dallas game on the over. I had the over and as my best bet on Tuesday with you guys with Dallas. It just barely cashed with like an empty net goal last second, but you take the win however you can get it. But I still think this Dallas team has a lot more potential. I'm really high on this Dallas team, and I think that they're kind of letting themselves down. I'm expecting a lot more goals out of them, expecting a lot more firepower. And I'm just not seeing that excitement. I'm not seeing that energy out of them that I think I should be seeing. So having said that, Nashville's actually been putting up a lot of goals. Ian, I know you've been cashing tickets with them on the over. I'm not usually the biggest stat guy, but 7 out of the last 10 of these teams' meetings have gone over the total. I think Dallas is lacking scoring. Nashville's been putting up scoring. Nashville's not really one of those teams I'm looking to bet on the money line too often this season, but I will be looking to bet the over with these guys. I think they've changed even more so to a fast tempo kind of team. Just like we saw, I talked with Dana on the Puckheads a lot last year during the playoffs about how fast their defensemen like to move the puck up the ice, don't clog the neutral zone whatsoever. They get pucks deep, and which is why I'm really liking the over 5.5 with them. And over the Minnesota Wild versus Chicago Blackhawks, almost the same exact thing. Again, not to always just talk about stats, but 5 out of the 6 games in the last 6 games in the last couple seasons here have gone over the total. I think Chicago's actually been really impressive putting up points and putting up goals. We saw them beat Pittsburgh 10-1. I know, Alex, that's your favorite team. They beat my Habs 3-1. And, I think they've been impressive. And I think they've kind of got that old team that they had about 3 or 4 years ago with Sharp returning, and they've got some of the older guys back. So I'm going to like the over in that as well. Keeping it simple, the totals have treated me well so far this season. And I think it should be a good hit. I think these 2 games that I'm pointing out here should be very exciting games. I think that we're going to have a good start. I would even be reluctant to take an over first period bet on 1.5 with the Minnesota Wild and Chicago Blackhawks. I think that'll be an exciting game, guys. And it should be a goal fest with that. But since we're probably heading into best bets, I might as well just finish that off with my best bet as the Minnesota Wild and Chicago Blackhawks over 5.5 goals.
All right, very good. Minnesota, Chicago over 5.5. Yeah, let's get the best bet segment going. 31-14 to the over with first period overs this season alone. And I know the full game overs have done a lot better than the full game unders. There's going to be a correction, and I just said that in the chat box a moment ago. You're going to see that things level off a little bit, but right now, you're right, scoring's up. There's more emphasis on holding penalties. You're seeing them really crack down on that, slashing penalties, the face-off violation rule in effect that creates a penalty. Now you lose a challenge. There's a 2-minute minor penalty assessed. More penalties I'm seeing. These are penalty-filled games, and it's resulting in more power plays, more opportunities, more chances, and more goals. So you just got to, be very careful with unders, at least until you see a correction. We've yet to see it. We'll see how long this overrun continues. Best bets. I'm going to get to Dana's best bet right now because he's got to run in a minute or two. Dana, best bet for you on Thursday's card.
Yeah, best bet for me is Arizona. And guys, this is really simple. If you like Arizona, especially with when they're playing a public team like Detroit, wait till the last second to play this, because believe me, as the day goes on, more Detroit money is going to funnel in, and we've already seen that as we're talking. That line's gone from minus $1.14 to minus $1.12 at Matchbook. So I would wait a little bit on this line because certainly Arizona money is not going to flood the market. And we touched on this a little bit, Ian. I think Arizona's got a ton of potential. I mean, Derek Stepan is a guy that we haven't even talked about yet, and he's centering that line with Clayton Keller, a guy who had a fantastic year at BU. On his other side is Max Domi, who was a terrific offensive player for the London Knights. There is so much potential on this Arizona team, and I think we have not seen the best of them yet, but we know what we're getting out of Detroit. And so far, their top line, the guys that they are relying on to put the puck in the net and carry this team, and Tatar and Zetterberg and Nyquist just have not shown up yet. You need more than one goal out of your top line. I think the potential is on Arizona's side. I think they're going to get a much better effort in net tonight. And I think that the Arizona Coyotes minus $1.12 at this point at Matchbook is my top play.
All right, very good. Dana, do you have to run? We'll let you go now.
I do. I appreciate it, guys. Have a great day.
All right, excellent. Dana, Arizona as his best bet. Sort of gave away mine in saying that. So there we go. But this will be the first time in the show that there'll be multiple people on the same best bet, but that's the way it's going to be. We'll get to mine, and I'll just confirm it, even though I've given it away like a million times by now. Alex, what are you looking at best bet for Thursday?
Well, like I said, I'm going with the Minnesota Wild tonight. Plus 120. I think, like I said, I know Dana made a really good point about Zach Parise being out. Guys have to use the plug-and-play system, but you got to understand Parise has been hurt quite often the last couple of years for the Wild. So the Wild are kind of used to playing without him at times. And like I said, even though Chicago's looked impressive offensively, they've been giving up a lot of shots well. So that's what I agree with Andrew and everybody talking about the over in this game. But my best bet is the Minnesota Wild. I think they're going to go in and get a good win on the road against their division rival tonight.
All right, there you go. Minnesota for Alex B. Smith as an underdog. His best bet. Again, to recap what I've got, I'll be looking at Tampa Bay when I see a line in that game. I like Buffalo plus 150, a little lean to the over. It's just a lean right now with the Wild Blackhawks over the total. That's what I'm looking at so far. But this is the absolute one that I will like the most. Best bet for me Thursday, just like Dana said, you're going to get an A game, I think, out of this Arizona Coyotes team. That was just they were walking into a buzzsaw, walking into a hornet's nest in that emotional, completely amped up environment in T-Mobile Arena the other night against the Vegas Golden Knights, and they just got ambushed, completely blitzed in the first period of that game. Vegas races out to a 4-0 lead. Antti Raanta, I think, is a better goalie than he showed that night. It's just one of those nights where, I don't know if the environment spooked him out a little bit, just how raucous the place was, but it was just not a good game from him. And Antti Ranta's now been around a long time, and I've seen from Raanta in his Chicago days when he was with the Rangers backing up Lundqvist, he would bounce back pretty well after a bad showing, and I think you're going to see that from him tonight against Detroit. And Detroit team, like I say, 2-0 start. I think a little bit of smoke and mirrors there. They lose their first game to Dallas the other night. I think you see Detroit start to level off just a little bit. This is still a team that I'm looking at more as a rebuilding team than a retooling team. It's going to be a team that's sort of in transition right now, that jettisoned a lot of veterans the last year or two, looking to get a little bit younger, get some youth into this group. But it could be some growing pains for the Red Wings in doing so. It's another team that's got defensive depth. Nick Cronwall's had injuries to start the year. It's a team that, again, scoring depth in their bottom six a little questionable. Jimmy Howard's been very, very good, but eventually the workload, you worry if he can sustain a high level of play in net. Jimmy Howard for a full 82-game season. I just think Arizona's better offensively, too, than they showed in the 2 games against Vegas. They did score 4 against Anaheim. So this team is capable enough offensively back home after just getting completely run out of the arena by the Vegas Golden Knights. I think Rick Tocchet gets his team back on track. Much better, stronger, intense effort from Arizona, looking to wipe away the ugly taste of that game against Vegas the other night. So yeah, let's go with Arizona at about minus 115, rotation number 10. That'll be my best bet for the NHL Ice Guys for Thursday, October the 12th. We went 4-0, guys, with best bets on Tuesday. We're going to hope we can duplicate that here on the show today. Looking forward to it. Saturday's show, there's a programming note, I guess you could say. I will not be around for that show. I'm taking a cottage trip this weekend. It was supposed to be next weekend. It's going to be this weekend. Instead, it got changed. So we're looking at a situation where I believe Dane is going to be doing the hosting duties on Saturday. But the show will run very much the same. And I probably will try to send a best bet along to Dana before the show so that you can recite it on the show. Because I'd like to be able to produce a best bet for Saturday's card if I can. So I won't be here. I'll be back Tuesday, though. Looking forward to that. But the Ice Guys show will carry on as usual with Dana, Andrew, and Alex on Saturday. And then I'll be back rejoining the crew on Tuesday. So until then, again, tune in Saturday. The show will go on as usual, even though I won't be here. That's going to wrap it up for the NHL Ice Guys for this Thursday. For Andrew McInnes, for Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. We had a best bet sweep on Tuesday. Hopefully we've got more winners in the bank on this Thursday card. Thank you again for tuning in. It's great. We appreciate it. It's an early show. I understand that. It's not always easy to tune in this early live, but we appreciate it. Good luck to everyone on the ice tonight. Lace up those skates, cash some tickets. We'll be back on Saturday. Enjoy the games, and good luck.